Hey, movie fans. So the first topic I'm going to talk about is that Spider-Man Brand New Day has opened to 360 domestically, beating Avengers Endgame opening, which was 357. It's also become the second fastest film to reach the villain behind Avengers Endgame. I love hearing this. And this actually surprised me that it beat Avengers Endgame's opening because I didn't think any movie would beat that opening unless it was another Avengers movie. So this is awesome news as a Spider-Man fan, and it deserves it because it was a great movie. And it's a movie that you should be seeing in theaters on the big screen. And you can check out my review for Spider-Man Brand New Day on my YouTube channel. And I think the reasons why this movie has made so much money and why it did so well is because Spider-Man is just a popular character. He's one of the most popular characters in comics when it comes to comic characters in film. And it just also, in my opinion, shows how much people have loved Tom Holland in the role of Spider-Man Peter Parker. Like he's, for me personally, him and Tobey Maguire are my favorite in live action. And this also shows how much people loved his previous trilogy. I love this previous Spider-Man trilogy, and one of the things I really love about his Spider-Man is the fact I love how we got to spend time with him as a high school kid. We got to see him grow and mature. And that's something I really love that they did with the Spider-Man more than the previous Spider-Man when it came to Andrew Garfield and Tom Maguire. It's like I like the fact we actually got to see him like mature and grow as a high school kid to a young adult. It reminds me kind of Smallville, a show that I love where we had Clark Kent in the first four seasons in high school, and then you get to season five beyond as him as a young adult. And to me, I love the fact they went that route with the Spider Man, how he really felt like a high school kid. And just we really got to see him mature. So I just think that also adds a great element to the Spider Man where people feel like they've grown with the character throughout these movies. So, like, I love that aspect of the Spider Man, this version of Spider Man that we have. And Tom Holland has done a fantastic job. You can tell he's just so passionate about this character. And I think this also shows the word of mouth this movie's getting, where everybody's coming out really enjoying it and loving it, mostly everyone. And I think this just shows how much word of mouth is getting people to talk about this movie and how much people are telling everybody to go and see it and people going back repeatedly to see this movie. And it just feels like an event movie. It's one of those movies that feels like you gotta see it on the big screen. And this also, my opinion, shows why I don't believe in comic book fatigue. I believe if you put out a really great, good to great movie, and you get people excited for the movie, you make it feel like this is a movie you gotta see at the theaters, people will show up. I look at a movie like Supergirl. If you really enjoyed or love Supergirl, all the power to you. I love that for you. For me, I found that movie mediocre, and that's an example of a comic movie when it comes to when people talk about comic movie fatigue. I believe in mediocrity fatigue is what I believe in. Like to me, you can't just make a mediocre comic movie anymore. You gotta make a really good to great one now, and you gotta make it feel like event movies. And that's the thing with Supergirl is that I don't think a lot of people were excited for that movie. At Supergirl, she's not a very popular character when it comes to people outside of the comics. I mean, if you go back to the original Supergirl movie, that didn't do well. So, and it just, I think a lot of people left the Supergirl movie. Not all, not everybody. I think a lot of people left that movie feeling like it was like mediocre or terrible. I know I felt it. I know I felt very lukewarm on that movie. And those are the comic movies that people are tired of. Is when you make a mediocre, generic comic movie. Whereas Spider-Man, if you make a really good to great comic movie and you get people excited with the marketing and a character who's as popular as Spider-Man, people will show up. And I can think of plenty of examples of comic movies in the past couple of years that did well, whether it be No Way Home, whether it be Deadpool and Wolverine, even Doctor Strange 2, that made over 900. The Superman movie made over 600. So people will show up for these comic book movies. Like, to me, it's not comic book fatigue, it's mediocre comic book fatigue. Like, people just aren't not gonna, they're not gonna show up with just for generic comic book movies anymore. You gotta make them feel like event movies. You gotta make them feel like there's something different that we haven't seen before. So I just wanted to also bring that up too. That I don't believe in comic book fatigue. I believe if you make really good to great comic book movies, you get people excited. You make it feel like an event movie, something different. People will show up. You just can't make generic mediocre comic book movies anymore. That's my opinion. What's happened with comic books, where that's the fatigue, in my opinion, is that people are tired of mediocre comic book movies, not comic book movies. That's just my personal thoughts on that. When it comes to the Spider-Man news, though, I love hearing this. Like, this movie deserves all the money it's making, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, I recommend you go check out at the theaters. This is a movie that should be seen on the big screen, and if you're a Spider-Man fan, I think you're gonna really enjoy or love the movie. And this is great news for the theaters. This is great news for comic book movies. How well this movie's doing, how it's like doing extremely well, and like I said, beating Avengers Endgame, I didn't think that was going to be possible. I really didn't. Like, I thought the only movie that was ever going to beat that opening was another Avengers movie. So it just goes to show how beloved Spider-Man is to the character and how much people love Tom Holland in the world. And I think this definitely means they're going to do a Spider-Man 5. Like, I know this. They said this could be the start of a trilogy, and I hope it is. I hope Tom Holland sticks around as long as he possibly can as this character. The next topic I'm going to talk about is the Odyssey has made over 900 so far. This is great news for the theaters, and great news as somebody who loved the Odyssey. I thought it was a fantastic movie, one of the best movies of the year. This movie that should be seen on a theater at the theaters like Spider-Man: Brand New Day, where the Odyssey felt like an event movie. It got people excited, and I also said this in past videos. Christopher Nolan, his name just sells the movie now. Like, to me, Christopher Nolan, Ryan Coogler, in my opinion, are the only directors that I feel in Hollywood right now where you put the names on a movie, people are gonna show up because it's their name that sells the movie. It's because people are big fans of those directors, and they've been consistently made some really good to great movies. And I just think Chris Nolan is he's one of those two directors, and I would say the most popular director, where Christopher Nolan can make any movie and people are going to show up because it's Christopher Nolan. Like, he's one of my favorite filmmakers personally, and he's made a lot of movies that I love. So I love hearing this as somebody who loved the Odyssey film, and it just it's just great to see another movie doing well. And this also shows how big of a year this has been for movies. Like, Odyssey's gonna release some villains soon, and then you already had Michael and Super Mario Galaxy that released a villain. You had Spider-Man Brand New Day, which released a villain. You had Toy Story 5, which released a villain. So you're gonna have 5 movies so far, and I think Doom Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday. I think they're the next ones that are gonna release a villain. I think Jumanji has a shot at a villain too. So far already this year though, you've had more billion-dollar movies so far this year, more than the past year since 2019. I think even reports said this is the biggest box office since 2019. So I do think this shows. Another thing I love about the fact that Odyssey is doing so well, Toy Story 5 did so well, Spider-Man Brand New Day is doing so well, is it shows that people want to go back to the theaters. If you make these movies feel like event movies, and you get people hyped up from the trailers, and you put out movies people are really excited to see, people want to go to the theaters to have that experience. And I think this just shows how much, like, to me, the theaters are never going to go away, in my opinion, because you're never going to make the type of money on a streaming service that you will in a theater. And it's not this. And to me, I always say this: it's not the same experience when you're watching a movie at home. Even if you have like a big TV, when you're seeing it on the big screen with a bunch of random people and you're all having this experience where you can focus on the movie, I don't. To me, like, people want that experience. It's a community experience, and also with the movie theater, you're going out, whether it be with friends, your girlfriend, or your parents, or your brother, sister, whoever. You're getting out of the house and doing something, and I think that's what makes the movie experience so great. Is that for that amount of time you see in a movie, you're there with random people, and you're all having either the same experience or different experience. So I think this just shows how much people want to go to the movie theaters and how much people are going back to it this year. And I do think the theater is recovering. Like, I do think we're all getting people back to going to the theaters and not watching that watching at home, like like you did during the whole COVID era and how that affected the theaters. And I just think we all getting back to it. I think the box office shows that. So this is to me another great sign for movie theaters. This is a great sign for people wanting to go back to the theaters to see these event movies. And I love seeing this as somebody who loved the Odyssey film. It's a movie that deserves all the money it's making. It's a movie you should see at the theaters. The next topic I'm going to talk about is so Van Diesel has said the script for Fast 11 is the best he's read in decades. When it comes to this news, it doesn't really excite me personally. As someone who used to be a big Fast and Furious fan, I haven't liked the last couple of movies. I loved Fast 5 through 7. I love the original Fast and Furious. I enjoyed Tokyo Drift in the fourth one. The second was only my dislike out of the first seven. Even as somebody who is a big Fast and Furious fan, I haven't liked the last couple. Like I said, I didn't like Fate of the Furious. That's where it started. It went way too over the top for me. I didn't like the Hobbs and Shaw spinoff. I didn't like Fast 9. I didn't like Fast X. So I haven't liked the last four movies in this franchise. To me, it should have ended with Furious 7. I feel like if you ended it right there, that would have been a great send off for the characters, story. It's just for me with the eighth one, it got way too over the top for me. And I think when you lost Paul Walker, you lost a big element of the franchise, in my opinion, when it comes to his character. So to me, it's a franchise I just don't have any excitement for anymore. And also, even if I was excited for the Fast and Furious movies like I used to be, Van Diesel saying that this is the best script he's read in decades, that doesn't really do anything also for me because of course he's gonna say that. He's not gonna say the script is crap, obviously, because it's his movie. So I mean, an actor saying this is the best script they read for their movie doesn't really do give me excitement either way. And I also, like I said, I haven't been excited for this franchise for a long time now. So like I said, I used to be a big fan, and then they just lost me with the eighth one, and I just haven't enjoyed any of them since then. So this news doesn't really do anything for me personally, as someone who used to be a big and Fast and Furious. The next topic I'm going to talk about is Barbie 2 has stalled over the salaries for Ryan Gosling, Margot Robbie, and the director when it comes to how much they want to get paid. And I'll say this: this does suck to hear because I did enjoy the Barbie movie, because I was shocked by that. I remember that movie coming out. I was like I knew the movie was gonna do well. And it obviously made over $1 billion, so it was a gigantic hit. So it makes sense that they're working on a sequel. I remember it coming out. I was like, I don't know if that's really a movie for me. And I ended up actually finding the movie to be really good, solid, entertaining movie. I don't think the Barbie movie was like fantastic. It wasn't one of my favorite movies of the year. It was, but I was entertained and found it to be a good, fun movie. And if they did, if they get this straightened out, the salary for the two actors and the director, yeah, I would be interested to check out the sequel. It wouldn't be on like the top of my list because like I didn't love the Barbie movie. I did enjoy it. I did find it to be a good, entertaining movie for someone who like was really excited for the idea of a Barbie movie. So I hope they get it figured out. And I understand somewhat them wanting a like bigger payday because it is a sequel, and I know sometimes a sequel is like the actors want to get paid more in the sequel, including the director. So I hope they get it all sorted out. As someone who at least enjoyed the Barbie movie, like if they never made a sequel, it's not something I'll be like, oh my god, I need to see a sequel to Barbie. At the same time, though, I did enjoy the first one enough to be like, yeah, I'll be interested to check out a sequel. It wouldn't be on top of my list. So I also hope they get it figured out for the fans. I know a lot of people love that movie, so hopefully they get it all figured out and they get Barbie 2 going. The next topic I want to talk about is so the first trailer came out for Jumanji Open World, and that's Jumanji movie. Now, when it comes to the Jumanji fan size, I enjoyed the original Jumanji movie. It's not like a cult classic for me. It's not one of those movies that I love. It was like one of my favorite movies of all time, like for a lot of people. I enjoyed it though. I had a decent time with the original. It's not great or anything. Not like something I was like, oh man, this is one of my favorite movies personally. Welcome to the Jungle, I loved. That's my favorite Jumanji movie. That, like, to me, that made me a big fan of the franchise. And this whole video game element, and I really enjoyed the characters, and I really loved the story in that one. It's just it was one of those sequels years later that I loved, and for me, it made me a bigger fan of the Jumanji franchise. Jumanji in the next level, I thought was fun. I thought it was like a good sequel, not as good as Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle. At the same time, I still thought it was an entertaining sequel. I still enjoyed the sequel. When it comes to the fourth Jumanji movie, the next level, I've been excited for this movie because I love Welcome to the Jungle, and I enjoyed the next level, not as good as Welcome to the Jungle, and I thought the Wizard was decent. When it comes to this trailer for Jumanji Open World, I'll say this with this trailer. I thought it looked fun. I wasn't blown away by this trailer. I didn't think it was a great trailer. And the thing with this trailer for Jumanji Open World is that I really dug the first half of this trailer when it comes to the avatars, the video game characters being in the real world. The second one ends with the hint in the last scene where it seems like stuff is coming into their world. That part looks really funny, and I found a lot of jokes in the first half of the trailer to be actually really funny. And I was like, okay, I'm really digging the story for the first half where the fist out of the wall element of the video game characters being in the real world. Like that looks like it could be really fun, a fun story. The second half of the trailer, I'll be honest, the humor wasn't landing for me as much, and it also just felt redundant. I was like, we already did the whole, the characters going into these video game characters in the Jumanji, so it just feels like I'm kind of like we've done that joke for two movies. Which the first two movies did a really good job with that joke. Like the Welcome to the Jungle, I love, like I said, and I really enjoyed Nest Level, even though I don't think it was as good as Welcome to the Jungle. I just feel like that whole element of the story, we've already done that for like two Jumanji movies of characters being stuck in these video game characters in Jumanji. So the second half of the trailer just feels like, okay, we've done this joke twice already. It's kind of like for me, it's become kind of redundant and a little like, okay, we've been there, we've done that. The first half of the trailer, I was really taken. So it's one of those things where it's like, I really dug the first half of the trailer with the story of the video game characters being in the real world. That has me excited. The second half of the trailer was kind of like, okay, we've been there, we've done that for two movies already. So I hope that like the second half of the trailer, I hope that's not a lot of the movie of them just like of seeing some of the characters in these video game characters in Jumanji because I just feel like okay we've done this story already twice. So I hope that isn't a lot of this movie because if it is, I'm just like, well, I just feel like it's kind of like been there, we done it point with that part of the story now. Overall, I did think it was a fun trailer though. I didn't think it was great. Like I said, the first half I really dug. The second half I was kind of wasn't digging as much. Overall though, I thought it was a fun trailer, not anything mind blowing. I'm excited for this movie though. Hopefully they, at least with these new Jumanji movies, they end it on a strong note. The next topic I'm going to talk about is the first trailer came out for Violent Night 2, and I believe this movie's coming out in December this year. I thought this trailer was great. It might have shown a little too much. That didn't really bother me too much personally because I just really enjoyed and thought this found the show to be really fun. I love the first Violent Night movie. It's one of my favorite Santa Claus movies. I love David Harwood as Santa Claus. Like I love the whole Viking element to his Santa Claus in the first movie, and this made for a very like badass, fun Santa Claus. So I've been really excited to see a sequel to that movie. With I'm glad it's getting a sequel because I don't think the first Violent Night movie made like a whole lot of money. I know it didn't have like a big budget, but it also didn't make like didn't do like amazing at the box office. I think I remember seeing it did okay, not like anything spectacular. So I'm just glad we're getting a sequel. And I really love the story in this trailer where it's like Santa's on the naughty list, and it says the reason is because he forgot the meaning of Christmas and maybe for killing too many people in the first movie. So I think that's just a really fun idea for a Santa Claus movie. It's something we haven't seen in a Santa Claus film before. The idea of him being on the naughty list and him losing his powers. I thought there was just a lot of funny moments in this trailer that I really enjoyed, and it just looked extremely fun. And Kristen Bell, Hobie and Mr. Santa Claus, I love that casting choice. I didn't realize she was even in the sequel. I know they referenced Mrs. Claus in the first movie, so and I love the look of Mrs. Claus in this movie with the sword, and she kind of looks like a warrior. So I love that. That would get like a different interpretation of Mrs. Claus in this, like we did with Santa Claus or David Harbour's version in these movies. So I hope she's in the movie a lot and not just like in the third act. Overall, I thought this was a really fun, great trailer. It has me excited for the movie, and I love the first one. So, and just the idea of him being on a nihilist just has me really interested in the story because I love the idea of kind of flipping on his head. Where okay, if you haven't seen it in a Santa Claus movie before, the action looks just as fun as it did in the first movie. So for me, great trailer. Can't wait for Violent Night 2. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.